You're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker, and alongside me is Matt Gannon. Unfortunately, Joe is not with us today, but me and Matt have you covered with an action-packed episode. We'll be looking at the Lightning's week, talking about the games and how they went, 3 stars, what's coming up in the future, maybe some trade deadline stuff, Matt. I have some fun things to talk about, but first and foremost, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, Jake. I'm a bit conflicted about the week we had. A couple tough games to start, but a couple pretty good games to cap it off with. I don't really know how I'm feeling right now, so I guess we'll dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. Started off a little rough, but they ended strong, which was a good thing. But don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on these episodes or future ones as well. And with that said, let's get right into it, Matt. Let's get these tough games out of the way first, because starting off, the Lightning took on the Ottawa Senators. And if you guys were here last week, we kind of said at the end of the show, looking at the Lightning's week ahead, that, listen, if you're going to lose one game, do it to the Senators, just because they're the ones not chasing us in the standings, even though team you should probably beat. And unfortunately, they did lose this once. Maybe they're listening to that. I don't know. We should have said just win this game. But they lose this one by a final score of 4-2. And Matt, the big theme in this one for me was speed. The Senators were playing with a ton of speed. Matthew Joseph, a former Bolt, which you can bet on every single time the Lightning play against their opponents. It's always some former Bolt scoring on them at some point. He gets 2 breakaway goals in this one, but the speed was a big factor. I mean, there was one point where Hedman pushed, I think he pushed Sorelli to give him a speed boost just to catch the Senators forwards. Like, they could not catch them with their speed, and they got bit. They do get goals late and are able to make a little bit of a comeback, but this game just felt out of hand very quickly, and it was very frustrating after watching the Lightning succeed so much for so long.
The most frustrating part about the whole thing is that they were playing terrific for the first 5-6 minutes of the game. They were out shooting Ottawa like 8-1 or something crazy like that. And they got that first goal, within the first 10 minutes of the game. And that's, it didn't suck the air out of the building. It sucked because we had all the momentum, and they get this quick strike kind of out of nowhere. And you're like, okay, cool. There's still, 50 minutes of hockey left. Joe was saying, oh, with the defense they're going to play, we're going to eat them alive. And I was just sitting there waiting for that to happen, and it never really did. They got that second goal in the first period as well. And that one really did suck all the air out. This game hurt to watch a lot. And I know this is probably the best, team you could lose against. The point, they're not really fighting for a playoff spot. They're the farthest away from us of all the other teams that we played this week. In this playoff race, searching for the wild card spot in the East. This was the one to lose, but we lost it in embarrassing fashion. Oh, I love Matthew Joseph. I really do. He had his flaws in Tampa, like he could not score on a breakaway. He couldn't score, like he could not buy a goal for whatever reason. Apparently he can now. He doesn't want to against 31 other teams, but when the Lightning come to town or when he comes to Tampa, he's just got some kind of vendetta against us. I don't know if there was some bad blood in that trade or anything, if he felt slighted, but he really hates Vasilevsky or something, apparently. Like, he just shows out against him. Because I remember last year there was a show there was a game that Matthew Joseph, he scored a 5-on-3 shorthanded goal against us, and that one had me pulling my hair out. I didn't think it could get any worse. It did. Yeah. I'm not saying this to like be mean to Matthew Joseph, but it's like, where was this when he was on the Lightning? He got every breakaway. He got 3 breakaways a game, and you could guarantee he was shooting it wide, whiffing on the shot, or just stuffing the pads or center of the chest or something. He just has Vasilevsky's number painted somewhere on a voodoo doll.
One positive note in this game, Mitchell Chafee got his second goal of the season. And I'll tell you what, Matt, he's been really, really impressive so far. And we'll get into it more because he eventually was playing on that second line. So he's playing, top 6 minutes out here now. He's clearly impressed the coaches. He's impressed me personally. He is a guy that's working really hard, flying. He's one of the few bolts that could actually keep up with the Senators' speed that they had. But he was a positive in this game for sure.
Yeah, Chafee has been, quite the revelation. He's not going to be, who knows what he can be, but as of right now, he's been a very good, stopgap, in an injury-prone, team late in the season. He's been a great addition. Who knows if he sticks in the lineup, but I've loved what I've seen from him. Crazy stat I heard is that from his call up, he's second on the team in hits, not from forwards, from the entire team. Second on the team in hits, and he's missed a couple of games just due to sitting out, healthy scratch, But the games that he has been in, he's made an impact in, and especially this game. Like, I definitely didn't, expect Chafee to be the one that, gets the icebreaker in this game, or the icebreaker for the Lightning. It definitely came out of left field a bit, but it's a pleasant surprise. He's got a bit of a scoring touch. He's got a nose for the net. He goes in those hard to play areas. He's hard in the corners in front of the net where you take a massive beating. Like he not like a grinder, but he's grinding out there for being I'm not going to call him a smaller guy, but he's definitely not a big guy by any means. He is getting into those dirty areas. He's taking a page out of Hagel and Asimon's book, just being a, honey badger out there.
Speaking of Hagel, he also got a point in this game and extended his point streak. I believe it was 10 games at this time. So he stays hot in this one. And but at the end of the day, though, the Lightning get the loss. It's a little frustrating, but hey, you're sitting there, you know what? We've played great overall. Losses are going to happen. You can't win them all. Let's bounce back against Washington. That really did not happen. And this one, Matt, got the best of me. They lose 5-3 against the Capitals. And it kind of felt like the same thing in the Ottawa one where, like, the start of this game, you're thinking, man, we look good. Like, this is going to be great. Big bounce back game. And then Washington gets the first goal. Then they get another one. And everything just kind of spirals out of control from there. Hagel, again, extending his point streak, gets a goal in this game to make it 2-1. But then Washington comes back and they again get that 2-goal lead. The Lightning actually come back and tie this game in the third period. So they came alive in the third after a rough first, not the entire first period, because we mentioned they were good early, but after rough first and second, they come back and end up tying the game, which is huge for the Bolts. But then the Capitals come away and they scored 2 late ones and end up winning this one 5-3. And I'll say this, Matt, I'm not sure your thoughts on it. This one got me. And listen, I hate blaming the refs. It's one of the most annoying things. Listen, the Lightning lost this game because they did not play a full 60 minutes. They beat themselves. They shot themselves in the foot multiple times. Let's get that out of the way, right? What the heck happened with the officials here in the third period, Matt? I mean, Aiden Fleury gets hurt by none other than Tom Wilson on a check. I don't know if I thought it was maybe should have been boarding, but he gets hurt on the play. He's been out for the last couple of games now. And that's what created that opportunity to score that goal for the Capitals, that go-ahead goal. By the way, one of those got called back from a offsides challenge. The Capitals actually went up multiple times, and one of them got called back off an offsides challenge. But they get that. Then there was the Kucherov trip that didn't get called late in the game, and the Lightning were pushing for the tie, which was very frustrating as well. And then the other thing, this wasn't officials, but there was actually one of the Capitals players on the go-ahead goal goes down towards the top of the blue line, and the Lightning had 2 players standing on top of this guy who's down on the ice. Like, why are we sending 2 guys over on a player who's not even on his feet? And then that creates the odd man opportunity, and the Capitals capitalize on that chance. A credit to them, they capitalize. But just a lot of little things there in that third period that kind of ran through there that were really frustrating, and to me is what made this game one of the most infuriating losses.
Yeah, unfortunately, this game, piggybacked off of the Ottawa and the Florida game from the week before, where they just had no answer, even against, bottom feeder teams, Ottawa's a bottom feeder team, but Washington's not, they still have, somewhat of a dog in this race, but They just didn't really have an answer for the speed and the tenacity of their offense. Washington did bring a very heavy forecheck. They're still a big team and they like to play physical. Even excluding guys like Tom Wilson, they've got a lot of good role players on that team. And yeah, the Fleury hit, the Wilson hit, that was unfortunate. It should have been a 2-minute penalty. I don't think it warranted a 5 nor a suspension or a
No.
fine or anything, but you can't do that. It sucks that, Fleury got hurt on that play, but at the very least, a 2-minute penalty, I think, should have been warranted. That trip that didn't happen late in the game, that one was even worse. I don't know how that didn't get called, but yeah, this game, again, just kind of carrying the same theme of the other two games where have no idea how many guys are, flying the zone. They have no gap control, so many odd man rushes on either end. This game was definitely probably the best of the three. The Ottawa and the Florida game. Obviously, it's better than the Florida game, but I'd say it was probably their best of those 3 games there. Doesn't mean by any stretch it was a good game. And the worst part about it all, that 3-game losing streak or whatever it was, all of these games were at home. That is the biggest, that's the worst part to me. It's like,
Where the Lightning have been good.
they've been great at home. And, for whatever reason, they won the 2 away games, back-to-back games, at that. Granted, it's not too far travel, but come on, you're at home. You're great at home. And this is the effort you give your fans. I know there's been a bit of an illness, running around the team. Chernak missed, did he miss the Washington game or he missed
Islanders game that he missed.
Okay. Well, he missed a game. Even Brian Engblom on the broadcast, he sounded sick. If a guy like that is getting
He
sick,
was hanging on for dear life in that New Jersey game.
Seriously, and he's still
in the Islanders game.
And he still did the radio broadcast with Michigan the game after. Like, what a trooper for Brian Engblom is. But still, like, if a guy like that is catching a bug, who knows what, the team, the guys are all close together on the same plane, same bus, same locker room. There might be stuff going around. So I kind of give them a little bit of a pass. Maybe dudes were, the guys are feeling a little under the weather. It's still hard for me to excuse a 3-game losing streak at home in that kind of embarrassing fashion.
Well, and the other thing for me, Matt, was, it was said in that locker room that, hey, this is Washington, a team right behind us in the standings. Now, Washington can only tie us if you look at the games in hand and all that kind of stuff. They can't get ahead of us, so there's still a positive. They're still behind us decently, and Washington struggled this year. But, this is a huge game. This is a game where if they win, they can really kind of push Washington away in this very tight wild card race. And after, as you mentioned, after some bad losses, the one to Ottawa, the one to Florida just a little bit earlier, you're expecting a response. And then you don't get that, or you get it and then it disappears very quickly. And that's what the frustrating part is. Even though the Lightning do come back in this game, but end up not holding it on, it's like, well, it should never gotten to that point. So that was a tough thing for the Bolts, especially how it translated to the standings, because Washington, we said it on the podcast last week. We said this is the biggest games for the Bolts: Washington, New York, and New Jersey. 3 teams chasing them in the standings. Luckily, things got better. The Lightning finally were like, all right, we cannot do this. We have to, and they said this in their press game conferences. They're like, we've got to play better. We are not playing well. And they did. They responded against the New York Islanders to a team who they lost earlier, was it 2 weeks ago, a week ago, to this point, that they lost 6-2. And they win this one 4-2. They pick up a huge 2 points. And this was a game that I felt like the Lightning mostly controlled for a majority, basically the entire game, until that
95% of the game.
Yeah, where the Islanders were pulling their goalie. The Lightning took some silly penalties, which Cooper talked about. They shouldn't be doing that, but it was 6-on-4 opportunities, and then the Islanders finally got a couple goals. Lightning get an empty net though and secure the win. But a game, it felt like they controlled for the whole thing.
Yeah, this game, it was a really fun game to watch, especially, I'm not a fan of the Islanders or any New York team by that matter. So these games always, mean a lot to me. And especially, you want a response after 2 weeks ago, you lost 6-2 or something like that, a total drubbing in their building. At least it wasn't at home, but no, this was, probably, it was their second best game of the week. The bar isn't very high, but they played very good this game. They were strong defensively. They were very structured, kind of by the book, I guess, if you will. Like, they really, took the coach's words and ran with them until the last couple minutes, where a couple of bad penalties. There's the puck over the glass, delay a game, and there was something else. I think a trip or interference or
And we should
something.
mention that delay game, Hedman and Cooper, everybody was furious about. I don't
Mhm.
know if they saw it hit the glass or something, but they were not happy about
So
that penalty.
what they think they saw, and I can't verify. Hedman supposedly said it hit off of Brock Nelson and
Oh,
deflected
okay.
out, and it hit off of his shin pad. I didn't see any kind of change in direction. Of course, they only showed 2 replays in 140p. Like, it's not.
Sometimes those angles don't help.
No, no, and those cameras aren't meant to go that slow and zoom that far in. It's a
Yeah.
very hard call to make, but that's why that you get all four of the line, all four of the officials, the linesmen and the refs get together and discuss. And I think the majority vote rules. 3 of them or all 4 of them saw the puck go directly over the glass, but like you didn't see Brock Nelson going, it's out, it's out. You didn't, you saw Hedman and Cooper and the entire bench saying, "What's going on? This is
And the
BS."
players usually know because they're right
Yeah,
there on ice and they know. But at
you
the end of
didn't.
the day, you don't want to put yourself in that position in the
You didn't
first place.
see any of the Islanders players like lobbying for it being over, or at least usually you see the whole bench and the whole team going, "It's
Right.
over, it's
Arms
over."
up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see much of that, so I don't know. I think they got the right call, but I don't know. They were reacting like it was the wrong call. But regardless, we escape mostly unscathed. They did score on that power play, I believe. Yeah,
They
they
did.
did.
They did.
It was a 6-on-4 as well. They had a couple of chances to get the puck out. I really thought they were going to challenge like that last goal for offside as well. It was very close on the entry, but again, what does it matter? You get the win in regulation. You stave them off, and you get the empty net goal as well. It was a good win. Again, 95% of the game, the Lightning were the better team. They even were the Boo Birds were showing out in the second period for the Islanders when they couldn't get anything going on their power play. They've struggled on their power play recently as well, and the game can turn very quickly. I was watching it, with my buddy, and he said, that I don't know how I feel about this game. Like, I don't know. He's very, very judgmental about the Lightning. He's like, they could score 3 goals and win this in regulation real quick, or they can let up 3 goals and win this in regulation real quick. It really is a flip of a coin. But again, thank the Lord that we got our revenge 2 weeks later. This is another team kind of biting at our heels, looking for that wild card spot. I don't really think they're a huge threat, but again, still a very important, well-earned 2 points.
Yeah, and listen, it wasn't perfect, but you needed that, right? You just needed the win. It didn't matter how. And again, they played great for a majority of this game. Two things I do want to shout out here. One, Braden Point gets a goal in this game, and it's always fun when Braden Point scores against the New York Islanders because of that famous gif, which I know majority of you have probably seen. For those that don't know, when the Islanders were playing the Lightning, you know what I'm talking about, Matt? You know where I'm
I
going with
can't say
this?
I do.
I'm surprised. Okay, so when the Lightning were playing the Islanders in the playoffs, there were some Islanders fans. I don't know the account that did it, but they did live streams of the games, and there were some great reactions. And one of them is an Islanders fan who runs this big account. I think it was Barstool, actually.
Oh, okay. I do know.
Yes,
Yeah, keep going
and
though.
Braden Point scores, and he's like, it's always Braden Point, really angry, really upset. So people love to post that when Point scores against the Islanders. So it's always funny when he gets a goal against them. And then also need to shout out Glenn Denning, who had a
Mhm.
fantastic game. He scored the empty net goal and got on the score sheet, but also was great in the penalty kill, had a couple shorthanded chances in there as well. So Glenn Denning played a he was great in the faceoff circle as well. That's like he's always been. But Glenn Denning, great game for him against the Islanders.
Yeah, despite him having 2 5-on-5 goal or a 2-goal 5-on-5 goal game earlier this year where I thought he played really good, this hands down was one of his best game, if not his best game as a member of the Lightning. I know it's a small sample size, but he played very, very good. He was a crucial member of the team in this game. And again, there's a reason why I was so high on this guy when he was coming in. When I learned that we signed him, I was so stoked. He's a guy. He doesn't take nights off. He knows his job. He's very responsible, and he got rewarded with an empty net goal. He has tripled his goal total from last year, and
Has he really?
still, yeah, he scored 3 goals last year, and I think what's number 9. At the very, at least it's 8 or something, but tripling your goal total from last year. And I don't know what his assists look like, but again, he's just a dog. He gets it done every night. So thank you, Jake, for shouting him out.
Of course, he deserved it. He played a really good game, and it was well
Hmm.
deserved. And it was good to see him get the empty net goal as well, to at least get the credit. Because sometimes you don't see those things on the score sheet, and it can get overlooked. But he played a good game in this one. I also mentioned the Lightning went 11-7 in this game, with Crozier back in the lineup as he came up, and the Lightning did that again against the Devils, going 11-7, and they got the win 4-1. Crozier, by the way, I think he's like 9-1 when he's in the Lightning lineup. So
Really?
we might want to keep him around a little more, because whatever it is, Crozier is helping things out apparently. But as mentioned, the Lightning come away with another huge 2 points against the New Jersey Devils, who are also a team right behind them, and they get back-to-back wins. Jonas Johansson in the net for this one because of the back-to-back. And Matt, I was impressed with Johansson. He's a guy who hadn't started a game since February 8th. That's a long time. I mean, he got in against Florida, but that game was just a throwaway game. It was only in the third period, and he didn't even play that great either because he's coming in cold. But, to play basically once a month, maybe twice a month, if you want to count it like that, that's hard to do. Very, very, very hard to do. And Johansson was really solid. The only goal that the Devils score is on the power play. So thought he was impressive in this game. But the story of this show was Nikita Kucherov.
Mm-hmm.
Nikita Kucherov took over this game, a 4-point night. He factored in on every single goal. He nearly had more. He almost had like a 5 or 6 point night, but they missed a couple of close chances. But Nikita Kucherov, man, this guy is just unbelievable. 102 points now in the season.
Yeah, going back to Johansson, he definitely, he didn't have a super big workload. I think they only got 18 shots the whole game. In that third period, they really shut the Devils down. But
yeah, 19 shots.
19, yeah, under 20 shots. That's a pretty not great performance. But
No.
I can't remember who on the broadcast said it, but they said Johansson, he's got the hardest and easiest job in the world. You go so long between starts, right. It's hard to stay. It's hard to stay frosty and stay fresh, but also exactly when you are going to play too. You're going to play on that second half or the worst team in the back-to-back. So at least you know exactly when you're going to be playing. I thought that was funny.
That's
I think it was Brendan Burke that said it, but yeah, he played very good this game. And the goal that did go in against him, it was a bit of a fluke play. It was a puck that hit off of Victor Hedman's skate and landed right on Tyler Toffoli's stick. He's scoring that 11 times out of 10. There's nothing you can do about that. And, good for New Jersey. They've had the worst power play I've ever seen. It was something like they've scored like 1 out of their last 46 power plays, something. They're bottom of the league. So good for them. You got your power play goal. The rest of the game was not too kind to them. And they had their chances here and there, but at no real point in this game did I feel threatened. Like, I don't know if it was such a good performance from the Lightning or just such a bad performance from the Devils, maybe a combination of both. But yeah, the third period, the Lightning really started skating downhill, especially after that Brandon Hagel goal. I think he got the 3-1 goal. That completely took the wind out of their sails. And yeah, the Lightning just really dominated the rest of the game from then on.
So a couple of notes in this game. You mentioned Brandon Hagel, 13-game point streak. He's currently the longest point streak in the NHL. He's on pace again, Matt, to potentially hit another, or at least close to another 30-goal season, sneakily. Like, that is so impressive. I didn't think he was anywhere close to that, but Hagel, man, I know I talk about him a lot because I predicted his 30-goal season last year, but he's truly been awesome, and it's been, I think, one of the best trades JBB has made in a while, or not in a while, but like one of the best trades of all the ones that he's made. Hagel's just been unbelievable. He's such a hard worker. He's always getting involved in the plays, and he's being rewarded playing with Kucherov and point right now. And he's a great guy with the interviews as well. TNT was talking with him. I don't know if you saw that, Matt, but after the game, and he's basically saying, it's great to play with Kucherov because you just got to get your stick on the ice and you're basically going to get some points there. But Hagel, really impressive stuff from him. He played a great game and extended his point streak to 13. So shout out to Hagel.
And he's just such a personable guy too. Like he's so animated, you know exactly how he's feeling. He's a funny guy. He gets heated. He plays with the passion. That's a word we attribute to him a lot, is the passion and the heart. Where
Yeah.
would this team be without him? Like, I know we talk about where would this team be without Kucherov? They'd be, 32nd. Where would this team be without Brandon Hagel? Who knows? Because he's just got chemistry with those guys. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about him a little bit later. Now going back to Kucherov, who, we're obligated to talk about. Yeah, first to 100 points, man, on a bit of a broken, but still kind of an awesome play as well. Good on Braden Point for dragging that out and getting Akira Schmid to really commit to it. A bit of a fluky goal. Schmid did tap it in himself, but it doesn't happen without Point and Kucherov making good plays and Point
Right.
getting it on the net at a ridiculous angle.
Well, for
But
Kucherov, how about the one where he walked down Broadway, and TNT mentioned this.
oh
They're like
yeah,
every guy would normally shoot that, but he drew every Devils defender right on top of him, and then he just dishes it off, and the Lightning get a goal out of it. Like, that's how good every Devils defender collapsed on him and tried to get him, and they still couldn't stop it.
Yeah, that was on the Victor Hedman goal, right? Where he just streaking,
Believe
going
so.
down Main Street and Hedman,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Kucherov, he's just such a magician. He is no doubt the smartest player in the game. He's very, very skilled, but he's not McDavid. He doesn't even have like a McKinnon skill set. He's still, one of the best skilled players in the league, but where he gets his biggest strength is his brain. Again, that's why that's why I coined the Einstein line. You got
Yes.
Hagel's bagels, Braden Point's eyebrows, and Nikita Kucherov's Einstein IQ. He's just such a smart player.
It's amazing to watch. It's so much fun to watch, especially in person. And we are I feel honored to be able to watch him.
Yeah.
That's how good he is. And he, by the way, breaks his own franchise record, the Lightning's franchise record, which is already his own for fastest Bolt to reach 100 points on the season. He was also the 10th fastest to do it in NHL history, only missed Connor McDavid's recent record by a couple of games. So really, really impressive stuff from Nikita Kucherov. He should be in MVP conversations, even though he isn't for whatever reason. Because like we said, Matt, without Nikita Kucherov, the Lightning are most definitely, I would say, not making the playoffs. That's how good he's been.
They have at least a top 3 pick in the draft next year, if not for Nikita Kucherov. Again,
and that is the definition of MVP.
Exactly. And where would the Avalanche be without Nathan McKinnon? They would, they'd definitely struggle, but I still think they would keep their head
They'd
above
be better
water.
than the Lightning.
They'd be better than the Lightning without Nikita Kucherov. So again, by the wording of the trophy, it's the most valuable player to their team. And Austin Matthews, unfortunately, he's making a very good case, but when you're 30 points behind the guy, it's really not a race. Like, again, I know he's scoring like a machine right now, but you're still 30 points behind. Mix in an assist here and there, and you might get in the conversation. I'm still a little skeptical, and this is still ways and ways away on who does get the Hart Trophy. And it's not even really that big of a deal. Of course, the trophy everybody wants is the big silver one at the end of the year. I know Kuch doesn't care about the Hart Trophy, but I still think it'd be really cool if he got 2 under his belt, another scoring title. That'd be really sweet.
I do want to mention too from this game as well, Matt. I do want to give a shout out to TNT. I thought they did a good job covering this game. It was a lot of fun. I know Cooper loves those games because there was a interview where they were going to interview Cooper on one of those weird, intermission interviews, but it actually started with Cooper with the microphone asking a question to the reporter, which I got a kick out of. So I thought TNT's coverage was fun. I just wanted to throw that out there as well. And also, a guy who we've not talked about a lot and has actually been in and out of the lineup recently because he's not played well, and a lot of people probably haven't been big on, Calvin DeHaan. He played a great game against the New Jersey Devils. He had a couple of big blocked shots. He had a couple of intercepted passes a couple of times. He just put himself in good positions a lot in that game. It was noticeable to me, at least. I don't know if you saw it too, Matt, but I think he deserves a shout out. I thought he played a really solid game against the Devils.
I can't say I noticed him all that much, and that's exactly what I want from him. So
absolutely.
There were a couple shot blocks in there. He did make a couple of crucial plays, but again, I didn't notice him, which is a very, very good thing for the most part.
Right. No, that is normally what you want when you're talking about defensive defenseman, which is what Calvin DeHaan is. So shout out to him, though. He played a great game. Lightning get a big 2 points. So as we kind of talked about, Matt, it started off a little rough, especially with those losses to Washington with teams behind them, but they get very important wins against the New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils. They still sit in that second wild card spot, back and forth with Detroit just because of Detroit's games in hand sometimes, but they're in a playoff spot. And for the most part, they kind of control their own destiny right now. So they're still sitting in a decent spot. A lot of work to do, a lot of hockey left, but good wins at the end of the season to keep them in this very tight Atlantic Division wild card race.
And they are like the teams are really starting to find where they're going to end up. I think, like again, this wild card race has been very close. The whole Eastern Conference has been extremely, close this year, or at least the Atlantic Division. The Metro is a little funky right now, but fighting for this wild card spot, the teams on the outside are starting to go a little more outside, like Washington, like New York, like New Jersey. Good thing we did beat New York and New Jersey, because I feel like those are the two that are kind of closest to us. Actually, Jersey,
They're closer than Washington.
Okay. But still, I think, everybody's kind of settling into their positions. Again, what do we always say? Just get in and see what you can do. Even if you end up as the second wild card and you're going to go up against, the Rangers or the Panthers or something, as corny as this trope might be and a little outdated now, who knows what they can do in the playoffs. It's a totally different team in the playoffs. Again, under John Cooper and, Steven Stamkos at the helm and Nikita Kucherov, playing on easy mode. Who knows what this team can do? So again, just get into the playoffs, put some ground between, the teams chasing you. Hopefully you don't end up in the second wild card spot. It'd be awesome if they can get a divisional spot. But regardless, again, just get in. But I essentially, this is a very long-winded way of saying I think the teams are kind of finally starting to separate. The playoff teams are the playoff teams, and the outsiders are the outsiders.
Who knows what you can do in the playoffs, and who knows what amazing merch you can find over on shop.rblrsports.com. And the best part is, for our amazing listeners here, you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order as well. Highly recommend you guys go check out the awesome team-inspired merch we have over there from the Lightning, the Rays, the Bucks, the Rowdies. You can see some of them there on screen if you're with us on YouTube. Links, as always, are in the description. Highly recommend you go check them out, and make sure you gear up as we get closer and closer to playoff time as the Lightning continue their push right now. So shop.rblrsports.com, and links again are always in the description. All right, Matt.
Jake, I'm cutting you off. We've been burying the lead the whole show. There's a big story. A lot of people know about it. If you're any part of the hockey universe, you should know. The Bolt Report hit 3,000 followers. I just want to say congratulations to you and Michael. That's a huge milestone. Oh, look, we even got a graphic for it. That's
look
great.
At that.
Again, Kucherov and Braden Point, they're not the only guys hitting big milestones this week. So, again, a big congratulations to you two over at the Bolt Report.
I really appreciate that. You caught me off guard with that one. I wasn't ready. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's not only subscribing here at RBLR and also following us over there on the Bolt Report. We really do appreciate it. I know me, Matt, Joe, everybody here at RBLR, we have a ton of fun making content for you guys. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that. It really does mean a lot. And we're excited to on the way to 4K. On and up. All right, let's get into the 3 stars of the week here for the Lightning. Starting off with the number 3 star, it is none other than Brandon Hagel. Hagel, who had a very impressive week. We kind of talked about it, 13-game point streak, and he had 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points and was a +3. Wow, I didn't even realize his stats were that good. That's very impressive. Hagel, what can we say? Unbelievable presence. He's really, I remember when we traded for him, some people were like, ooh, we kind of gave up a lot for him. I feel like he's done more than enough to show that he was worth every single price that we paid for him. So Brandon Hagel gets the 3rd star of the week.
I didn't know his stats were that good either. I just saw, the incredible point streak, 13 games now, which is, incredible. He's, I guess technically 3rd all time for the longest point streaks in franchise history, only behind one guy, Steven Stamkos, which is a bit surprising. I'm surprised Kuch wasn't up there, but hey, I'll take it. Brandon Hagel, 13 games, that's incredible. But I didn't even know his stats were that good till you said it, Jake. I just kind of picked a player, I just kind of picked a name out of a hat. I was like, who looked the best this week? Of course, you got to get your obligatory Nikita Kucherov, but Brandon Hagel, this list is quickly becoming Nikita Kucherov and Brandon Hagel's 1 star of the week. Who's the wild card this week? But yeah, he's a guy that just doesn't take nights off. A lot in the reaction to the trade initially, we did give up a good bit. I was a bit sad that we had to give up Taylor Radish, but I was checking the stats the other day, and Darren Radish has actually twice as many points as Taylor Radish.
Does he?
Despite playing defense, despite playing the same amount of games, Taylor's a forward in the top 6 there, and Darren Radish is at best your third defenseman. I thought that was pretty neat. Again, who knows what Oliver Moore, who they picked, this year, Chicago did with our pick, and I still think they get a pick next year as well. Who cares? That's a problem for 10 years later. As of right
Hey,
now,
we got Brandon Hagel who's going to be here for a while as well. So it's
I think we're all very happy with how this trade has worked out again. He's just a guy that does not take nights off. He's just gels so well with Point and Kucherov. Like, again, he's just such a versatile player. Again, we've ran out of words for Kucherov, a year
we're
ago.
running out of words for Hagel.
How many times can I say honey badger or buzzsaw? How many times can I say that? So
Right.
it's
Hey, and you know what? Hagel, keep doing it. We hope we don't run out of words for him. It's been really impressive. By the way, you mentioned the point streak. I'm actually looking at this now. So Hagel is 5th in Lightning history right now at 13 games. Kucherov's longest was 12 back in 2018, 2019. He also did it in 2019, 2020. And then Stamkos, he leads the Lightning 18 game point streak. So we'll have to wait and see if maybe Hagel can continue to climb up that leaderboard. By the way, Stamkos, Marty, and Vinny Prospel are the 3 players that are ahead of Hagel with point streaks.
I got bad intel then. It may have been for active players on the Lightning.
Maybe that's what it is. Steven Stamkos is the only one ahead of him
Yeah.
that is currently active.
But I guess
By the way, if you're wondering, Prospel and Marty are actually here's what it is, Matt. Vinny and Prospel are 13 game point streaks as well. So he's tied with those guys. The only one ahead of him is Steven Stamkos, who has 18 and 14 games. So he could one more game and he's tied for the second longest in franchise history. That's pretty impressive stuff right there.
Sweet. Thought we almost had to move the goalpost for me to be right, but I guess I'm still right.
Nope. You had. I was just looking at the way this was set up. They've got Prospel and Marty ahead of him for some reason. But nonetheless, Hagel gets the 3rd star of the week, and well deserved for him. Going to our number 2 star of the week, though, another guy who was very impressive. He had goals taken away from him and then given back a couple of times in that New Jersey game. But that's Braden Point. He gets the 2nd star of the week. He was also very impressive with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points, and was a +3 as well. The big game for him, probably that New Jersey one, was a beneficiary of Nikita Kucherov playing that unbelievable hockey. But Point, man, he's a guy who is also kind of quietly approaching, I think it's, how many goals is he at right now?
30.
30. Yeah, he scored 50 last year. He could hit 40 goals this year, which seems crazy because doesn't feel like he's scoring nearly as much as he was last year. Granted, he's about 10 off that pace, but hey, Braden Point scoring a lot of goals at the end here and chasing down 40 goals, which is nothing to shake your head at.
Yeah, you can't have 2 master chefs in the kitchen at the same time. Like Braden Point, 50 goals last year. Nikita Kucherov with 100 billion points this year. You can't. I don't know. It's really hard to have 2 guys firing on all cylinders all the time. But regardless, 40 goals is nothing to sniff at. Like 40 goals is 40 goals. 30 goals is an incredible mark right there. I don't know if he has scored less than 30 since his rookie year. But he is definitely a lock for 40 goals, and he's starting to pick it up quietly too. Again, he's Captain Clutch. He's Braden Point, and he's a guy who was single-handedly saving my fantasy season.
There it is.
There it is. Fantasy. Don't worry, there's more. But yeah, single-handedly just saving me. But again, just for whatever reason, I know his 50-goal season was nobody talked about it. They're like, oh, Pasternak scored 60 goals, and Matthews he didn't even hit 50 last year. But he's just such an underrated player. He is without a doubt the most underrated player in the league, and sometimes the most underrated player on his team. Again, we all give him the respect he deserves, but just another quiet, great season from Point.
So, by the way, Matt, looking at the goals here, by the way, for Point in this season, he had 18 his rookie year, only played 68 games, and then 32, 41, 25, 23, 28, 51, and now 30 again. So he's been right around that 30 mark just about every year, except for his rookie season. So impressive stuff.
And a couple of those were injury. A couple of those were shortened seasons. Yep. Like 2 or 3 of them were shortened seasons. So, or I guess 2 of them were shortened seasons. So, that's me moving the goalpost.
Hey, but you're absolutely right. Point's been right around there every year, 30 goals, which has been very impressive. And on this year, hopefully he can hit 40 as he continues to heat it up. And that's why he gets the 2nd star of the week. And then for the 1st star of the week, I'm not even gonna do a drum roll or anything. Who else but Nikita Kucherov? He gets the first star of the week. We talked about him. He's unbelievable in that New Jersey game. 2 goals and 6 assists for 8 points this week and was a +2. Man, do we just skip it? Like at this point, like
Yeah,
it's seriously
I'm
so
bored.
unbelievable. And the other thing is too, Matt, there was they pulled up some quotes from him on, I think it was from him specifically too. And he was talking about how, like, listen, it's not skill, it's how hard you work. And if you guys remember, we talked about this before. Kucherov took a week off after that loss to Toronto in the first round and then got immediately back on the ice. He was one of the first Lightning players to start working hard, and he put in so much effort, and he is being rewarded. And the crazy thing is, when you watch him play, sometimes he's been frustrated these last couple of games. Clearly, he thinks he can do even better, and he did 102 points on the season. So he gets our first star of the week. But man, Matt, Kucherov, well deserved.
I don't know if there's anybody who, is harder on themselves. And honestly, it works to his advantage. Him and Vasilevsky, must be a Russian thing. They both just push themselves to the extreme. They know they can do better, even though they're the best in their class.
Sometimes too much, it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we did get the rare Kucherov smile after a goal. It was, I think actually, you know what? It makes sense. The only reason he was smiling is because he got the assist on it. He'd never smile if he scored it. He only wants the apples, but
He wants the assist.
but again, just he pushes himself so hard. He knows he wants to be the best player in the world. I think I was saying this last week. He just knows he has it in him, and he is proving it. Again, Connor McDavid, he's on another level, but to be in the same category as Connor McDavid, that is extremely cool. And another elite company that he's in. It's a bit of an old stat. I guess I could have used this last week, but when he played his 700th game, points through 700 career games, Nikita Kucherov has 823. People below him: Mark Messier, Bobby Clark, Pierre Turgeon, Ron Francis, who's like 3rd or 4th all-time in NHL points, and Nathan McKinnon just below him. That is some elite company right there. That is
Absolutely.
And that's just one of a billion stats that, look great for Nikita Kucherov. And, it took him a while. It took Kucherov a couple of years. He was drafted in 11, didn't start getting regular playing time until 14, didn't really become a superstar till, the triplets line got put together in the showing out party in the playoffs.
That brings back memories.
Yeah, right. And somehow just each year he gets better and better and better. I was like, there's no way, he's ever going to top 128 points. That was astronomical. And, at this pace that he's currently at, he's going to shatter that. He'll be in the high 130s at this pace.
Unbelievable.
He is a specimen, a freak of nature, and he is, without a doubt, hopefully, the Hart winner this year.
Hart winner, and he should definitely be the Art Ross winner. At least we know that one, because they can't take away that one from him if you're the points leader in the NHL.
And he's also been playing chase with Nathan McKinnon. He's got a little bit of a lead on him, but now I think he's got a 6-point berth between him and McKinnon now, something crazy like that.
After that huge game from him, yeah, he really put himself up on there. So Hagel, Point, Kucherov, your 3 stars of the week. Let us know in the comments down below. Love to hear from you guys as always. What you think about our 3 stars. Do you agree with us? Would you put some other players in there? I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Matt, before we get into the Lightning's week ahead coming up here, I want to mention the trade deadline. And the reason I want to bring it up is we'll have another show before the trade deadline hits, which is March 8th, if I'm not mistaken. But JBB kind of has a tendency to do things early. He likes to get things done. Just look at some of his older trades. I mean, February 24th, 28th is a common day that he likes to make moves. He went out and got Goodrow on the 24th. Hagel was an early acquisition as well. There's so many other trades that JBB has done. Hagel's was on March 18th, which is sounds like it's past the deadline, but that was because of the 1 year where everything was kind of out of whack. So, but point being, JBB likes to make moves early. So I wanted to talk about the trade deadline here. I think we mentioned it last week, where there's been some names that have floated out, like Chikrin. You also have Walker from Philadelphia, Steele from Philadelphia as well. And then one of the newer ones that we've seen is Tarasenko. Which is an interesting one as well. Vladimir Tarasenko. I think he was linked to us last year.
He has been for what seems like a number of years. It seems like he's kind of the Eric Carlson of forwards, always linked but never comes.
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts on that because the forward is something it's always been defensemen, right? We talked about Noah Hannafin, we've talked about Walker from Philly, but forward is kind of a new position we've seen. And honestly, I would not hate seeing a guy like Tarasenko come over for the Lightning if they can make it work.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it, but I by no means would I dislike it, depending on what we give up, if we give up anything. But who wouldn't want Vladdy Tarasenko on their team? I know he's not what he used to be, but he's not, he's not an old man or anything. He's in his low 30s, but he can still score, like a machine. He can still put up, great assists. He's having a pretty decent, but, quiet, but decent year in Ottawa. And he's playing, middle 6 minutes. He's not getting, top line time or anything. And I think he could be a pretty decent addition to the Lightning, especially because it seems like they're not like, from reports I've heard, and who knows how, accurate they are, but I don't think Ottawa is going to be asking a whole lot for him either. You might be able to get him for a pretty good bargain. They've got an interim GM in there. He might be just, new to the job. He might make an oopsie trade. It's been done before where JBB pulls off a fleece.
Blood in the water.
Exactly. You're not special. You're one of many, but I don't know. The other guys, I don't know if I'm going off topic here, but Noah Hannafin, he's another name that we've seen a lot of recently, and he's been on record saying he'd love to play for the Lightning one day. Who knows if that happens? Again, this one it makes sense right now. I don't know how much sense it makes in the future with Sergachev coming back. You don't want a super stacked left side, even though I guess it did kind of win us 2 Stanley Cups. He's not Ryan McDonough. He's an offensive-minded defenseman, Noah Hannafin, but he still has a very good defensive game to him. I had him on my fantasy team earlier this year. He was playing really good. I shouldn't have dropped him. Somebody else picked him up. Regardless, there's plenty of options that we do have, especially with a comfy $8 million that we just found laying around somewhere. Hopefully, we can find. Unfortunately, it sucks again. But the assets, that's the big question. What do we have to give up? I would hate to see Isaac Howard go. Michael might think a little bit differently, but at the same time, you've got a U.S. hero. You might be able to sell high on him if somebody really wants him. Again, we're in win now mode as well. Like, these guys aren't getting.
You got a 2026 first round pick that's just collecting dust out there.
No, we can use 2027s now. I think you can use 4 years.
There you go.
So yeah, we do have some assets, but how far in the future do you want to trade? What does this team look like in 2027? We'll still have core guys, but I don't know. It might be somebody off the roster, with some trade value. Who knows who it might be? Talking about right-handed defensemen as well, like Sean Walker, he's one. There was another one, Eric Johnson from Buffalo. He's somebody who apparently we're linked to. I can't remember the reporter that leaked that or dropped that, but Eric Johnson, he's a right-handed shot in Buffalo. I just don't really see the need for a righty. I've get this on record, Jake. I've finally become comfortable with Darren Radish playing, regular games. He's really put things together. Darren Radish has completely. I've 180'd on him. I'm a Darren Radish truther now. But even Nick Perbix, he's starting to play a lot better. And Eric Chernak, when he's healthy, he is a beast out there. He's terrific when he's healthy. It's just that if factor. So I guess that might be, if you can get somebody for relatively cheap and not just a whole lot of assets to just kind of bolster that blue line, that'd be great. But the left side is what, needs attention right now. It might just have to be a depth guy, especially with Hayden Fleury going out as well now too. Maybe it could be some prospects. I don't know how much value they have, but is there any other names that you've seen floating around, Jake?
No, we've pretty much hit them all there. To go back to why I think we were linked to Tarasenko, by the way, because he's on Ottawa. I remember we were linked to Jacob Chikrin as well, who's also on Ottawa. So you have to wonder if JBB's maybe thinking, hey, throw in a little package deal in there and we can get something done. It helps the Lighting out in 2. Because listen, if you're going to pick a spot that they need help in, it's defense, obviously with the loss of Mikhail Sergachev. But listen, it wouldn't hurt to bolster their bottom 6. I mean, you've had guys like Chafee really step up. ABB got sent down recently. He did clear waivers. So, there is another spot in there somewhere. Tanner Jeannot's out right now. He'll come back though eventually, but there's definitely somewhere that could fill that role. in that basically the ABB spot kind of. So you could see something more. The Lightning are playing 11-7 right now anyway. So I think that's why they got linked to Tarasenko. Hannafin is the big name, just because, as you mentioned there, Matt, he did go. It was on the 32 Thoughts podcast. Elliot Friedman said that he was told that Hannafin wants to end up. He wouldn't mind ending up in Tampa Bay, whether that's now at the deadline or in free agency, which is also really, really interesting. Because again, as you mentioned, right, JBB's track record is he likes to go for guys that he can extend and keep long term. Brandon Hagel is a perfect example of that. He very rarely goes for rentals. I mean, even Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, he used both those guys to win back-to-back cups, and then
they had term.
Right. And then eventually moved on for them and got some value back there a little bit. So I don't know how they can make that work. It's he's got to look at all that. And again, that goes back to the whole Stamkos situation, which make things more difficult. You know, you got to fit, how much is the cap jumping up? There's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered, which makes this so difficult. But it should be an entertaining trade deadline for the fan perspective, because with the new cap space, the Lightning could definitely make some moves this year. For sure, because
this is definitely going to be a very complicated trade deadline. Because again, we know what we need, but what do we have to give up? How much do we need? How much of what we know we need do we need? It's going to be very interesting to see what Julian and company, cook up, and hopefully it's not a whole nother draft class. I'm fine with a couple of picks, but maybe not the entire, entire year.
Everyone.
Yeah, again, I love Tanner Jeannot, but the trade's aging like fine milk.
Well, and you wonder too with the forwards if they're doing that, because Connor Sherry, listen, I know Connor Sherry's getting a lot of hate right now out there because he's had a very rough season, because he just hasn't hit those offensive expectations. I wonder if that's maybe another reason why that they're looking at some forwards there. So there's a lot of question marks there. I will say this too with Noah Hannafin, because he said that he wants to play in Tampa. Maybe they could make that work a little bit easier, because maybe he takes a more team-friendly deal later in the future, extension-wise, because he wants to play here. So that's something that could help the Lightning in acquiring him if they go to do that. I know everybody talks about, oh, I know everything to trade for. Listen, our prospect pool was ranked like worst in the league, and we've got Lilleberg, Crozier, Chafee, all these guys stepping up right now, and they've still got Isaac Howard, as you mentioned, Matt, Maxime Groshev, who we haven't even seen yet.
Don't get rid of him.
I hope not. No. I want Groshev is a guy I'm really, really excited about. But they've got prospects, is the points I'm making. Like every year, the Lightning always have that one guy that comes up and steps up, and everybody's like, where did this guy come from? So Lightning have got good prospects, and they can definitely make it work. It's going to be interesting trade deadline. We will hit it more next week in our last episode before the trade deadline. So make sure you like and subscribe right here on YouTube, and follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning, so you don't miss out on those trade deadline videos. And of course, we'll be recapping everything that happens after the trade deadline happens. But Matt, let's wrap things up at looking what's coming up here for the Lightning this week. They have got the Philadelphia Flyers up next tomorrow, the 27th, depending on when you're watching this, at 7 p.m. Eastern, the last of their road trip. And then they'll come back home to take on the Buffalo Sabres at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then as I jump over here to March, they will take on the Montreal Canadiens on the 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then actually they have a 4-day break here. These schedules, Matt, I just don't know. The Lightning have had, I think this is like their third 4+ day break this year. It's happened so much, but they have a lot of games in hand. So nothing crazy that jumps out me here on the schedule. Matt, what are you looking for this week from the Lightning?
Well, I'm going to backtrack off of what I ended the show with last week, because, it seems like a easy schedule, but I ended last week saying we have no reason not to walk away with 8 points, so I'm going to do the inverse. There's no reason, we have no right to win any of these games. It's just not even possible.
Reverse psychology.
I'm going to the Sabres game on Thursday, and it's just going to be terrible. Tage Thompson's going to score 1 billion goals. If this is what I have to do to make it work, please. No, these are, easy teams. Philly, they're definitely, they're grinders.
They're having a good year.
They're having a really good year. I think they're still in a divisional spot right now. They've faltered a
Yeah.
bit recently, but John Tortorella teams and the Lightning do not mix very well. They can definitely, especially in Philly too, they can do their damage, and they're quietly good. Buffalo, another team that the Lightning always are kind of iffy with. I think they beat us earlier this year, I want to say. Yeah, they beat us way early this year. Dylan Cousins with the OT winner. That helped my fantasy team. As terrible as it was. Ding. Don't do it. Again. And Montreal. That's another, bottom feeder team that knows how to play scrappy. They're a physical team, despite, their scoring struggles, they know how to hurt you literally in other areas. Keep your head on a swivel against all these guys. We might have some scouts in the audience as well, getting a good feel for, some of the players that might be on the market from all of these teams. We've been linked to, players from all three of these teams that we're going to be playing against. Maybe not Montreal, but it's going to be an important week. Hopefully we can build up some ground between us and the outsiders on the playoffs, and maybe, get closer into a divisional spot. But again, always a big week, especially this time of year. Hopefully they lose all these games.
It's going to be an interesting week for the Bolts on the standings wise. Philly's definitely the best team. But listen, as we've said many a times, these are NHL teams. You have to take everybody seriously and give it your hardest. The only thing I ask for this week, Matt, is when we do play Montreal, which is going to be at home again, play to the whistle, please. Let's not have a repeat of what happened last time. Get your hands off of the music buttons. Let's make sure we don't have a repeat there. But hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow right here at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning, so you don't miss out when we come back next week and recap all of that and so much more for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we really appreciate you listening. We'll see you guys in the next one. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.